Hey guys, it's Michael. Today's your Thursday, May 14th, stimulus check and stimulus package update, and we have a lot of information to go over. We're going to start off with a couple of key reminders, and then we're going to get into the financial and economic news. There's a lot of important information here with unemployment report that came out earlier today and information from the Federal Reserve. Then we're going to get into the new stimulus check and what Donald Trump said yesterday about the second stimulus check being dead on arrival. Then we're going to get into the PPP and EIDL loan, and then finally a couple of questions with the first round of stimulus checks. So if you have not yet received your stimulus check, be sure to stick around until the very end. But before we get started, if you're interested in the stock market, stimulus checks, or how to make money in general, well, then please be sure to subscribe to my channel so you can be notified when new videos come out. Anyways, let's jump right into it and let's get into the key reminder, which is that the PPP Loan Safe Harbor date is May 14th, which is today. What this means is that if you received money from the PPP program and you decide that you no longer need it or that you don't qualify for it and you don't want to take the money, well then you could go ahead and return it today without any repercussions. There won't be any interest charged. You could just go ahead and return it today and then you would be all set. If you want to keep it, you can do that as well, but then you'll have to make sure you apply for forgiveness very soon, which I will touch on later. Now let's get into the key financial and economic news. So all states have started to open up in some shape or form. In a lot of states, some counties are starting to open up, but other counties are not opening up. So you have to check to make sure what county you live in to see what exactly is opening up, what isn't opening up, and to see exactly what is going on. So check your local state government website for that. Moving on, the unemployment report came out earlier today, and it says that 2.98 million Americans filed for unemployment in the week ending May 9th. So it was expected that this number would have been around 2.5 million, so it was significantly higher than economists projected at 2.98 million. And over the past 2 months, over 36 million people have filed for unemployment because of the coronavirus. Next up, the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell gave a dire warning yesterday on Wednesday that the U.S. economy could become stuck in a painful multi-year recession if Congress and the White House do not authorize additional aid and stimulus for the American people. He says that we may not be looking at a V-shaped recovery or even a W. He says that we could be in a long-term recession and the recovery can look more like an L versus a V or a W. So this is huge because that shows that he thinks we definitely need a second stimulus package, which we'll touch on in a little bit. Jerome Powell says that additional fiscal support could be very costly right now, but it is definitely worth it because it helps to avoid a long-term economic damage and leaves us with a stronger recovery. And he also says the record shows that the deeper and longer recessions can leave behind lasting damage to the productive capacity of the economy. So basically what is it saying is that the longer it takes for us to recover, the worse it's going to be off for the economy. So he is pushing for additional stimulus money. He thinks that additional stimulus money will help us recover a lot sooner and prevent us from being in a long-term recession. So this is important because this relates to a second stimulus package and what is going on there. So now let's get into the second stimulus package. We're going to talk about what Donald Trump said, and then we're also going to talk about how likely a second stimulus package is and what's going to make a second stimulus package more likely. So last night, Donald Trump said that a second stimulus package, the one that was proposed by Nancy Pelosi, is dead on arrival in a meeting with Colorado and North Dakota governors. He said that it's dead on arrival, it's not going to happen. And this is important because it's not a representative in the House or a senator saying it. It is the president. And at the end of the day, he has the final signature on if this bill is going to pass because it has to pass the House, then the Senate, then the president has to sign it off. So if he says that this bill is dead on arrival, that can be pretty bad. So let's go into this a bit more and see exactly what he is concerned about. Donald Trump said that this bill that Nancy Pelosi and the House Democrats proposed was essentially a voting package, that it had to do a lot with voting and the upcoming election later in this year. And Donald Trump said that the HEROES Act, that this new stimulus package that Nancy Pelosi proposed has billions of dollars for vote-by-mail programs. And he said that mail-in ballots are subject to tremendous corruption and cheating. And so he's against that. He says how he's not going to lose the election because of this bill and the vote-by-mail program. So what it looks like is that Donald Trump isn't against the second stimulus package and more stimulus money. He has said previously that there will be more help. He just doesn't know in what form. It seems like the one thing he is tied up on, the one thing he's concerned about is the additional money, the billions of dollars for the vote-by-mail program. He says we're not going to lose the election because of this vote-by-mail program and the additional money for that. It seems like he is very concerned about this, but other aspects of the stimulus package he's okay with. He had said there'll be more help for Americans. He said as long as there's a tax cut in this package, he would be happy, he would pass it. So it seems like he's just getting very caught up on this one aspect of the vote by mail program. So while a lot of you guys may think that since Donald Trump says that this stimulus package is dead on arrival, that means it won't happen at all, I don't really think that's the case. I think we need to look at the economic data and states reopening. These are the two most important areas because if more people are filing for unemployment and states reopening isn't going smoothly or going to as planned, well then we're going to need more stimulus money because if people can't return to work, they're going to need more relief and there's going to have to be more stimulus checks being sent to Americans. So when we look at the economic data from this week, more people than projected filed for unemployment. It was another 3 million people when economists had only projected 2.5. So that's not good. And a total of 36 million people have filed for unemployment within the last 2 months. So that number by itself doesn't look good, but you have to also look at states reopening. Because if states reopen and everything goes really well and people can start returning to work and finding new jobs, well then a second stimulus package isn't needed because people can return to work. Ultimately, we want people to be able to return to work, have jobs that pay them a salary. But with states reopening, we have to look at how it's going there. So as of right now, it's too early to say how states reopening is going. But we can look at what's happened in other countries. And one country we can look at is South Korea. South Korea recently reopened, and a 29-year-old visited several bars and nightclubs just 3 days after South Korea opened. And just from him alone going to a number of nightclubs, over 100 people were tested positive for the coronavirus, and they were all traced back to him alone. Then the very next day, the fourth day, the mayor of Seoul, South Korea, ordered all the capital's bars and nightclubs to shut down indefinitely. So that shows you that they started to reopen, they thought everything would be okay, but then just 1 day later, they had to shut all of the bars and nightclubs down because too many people were getting infected and getting the coronavirus. So that's one thing to keep in mind, because if the US starts to open back up, which we are, but then people start getting sick and more starts happening and we have to close down again, well that's not going to be good, and that's going to make a second stimulus check more likely, because if we're only open for a week or two, people can't start returning to work. People aren't going to start spending money so soon anyways. And then next up, I want to look at what happened in Japan. Japan shut down their economy very early on, and they prevented a lot of outbreak from happening. So they opened back up earlier in April, then they had to shut down again because cases were spiking. And now they recently opened up again. So they've been shutting down and reopening, and that's not good for the economy, because if you have to shut down and then you reopen again, and then you shut down again and then you reopen, it's not good for the economy because no one can return to work. If you're only opening up the economy for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that's not long enough for people to start spending money again, jobs to reopen again. It's not enough time for more people to start finding new jobs if you only open up for a couple of weeks. It needs to be that when states reopen, they're going to stay open, because if they have to shut down again, well then there's very likely going to be another stimulus package, because people can't return to work unless the economy stays open for a significant period of time, so then people can start spending money again and jobs can reopen. So basically, with the second stimulus package, it only seems like Donald Trump is concerned with the vote by mail program. Everything else he seems fine with, or at least he wants more stimulus money for the American people. He's mentioned this multiple times. So that one aspect of it can be debated in the House, it can be debated in the Senate, that can be taken out or modified, so that's not a big deal, because Donald Trump, the Democrats and the Republicans all think there needs to be more help in some shape or form for the American people. Moving on, let's talk about the PPP and EIDL loan, and there is one thing I want to point out, and that is that you need to apply for forgiveness for the PPP loan 8 weeks after you received your PPP loan money. And this is coming up very soon, so make sure you have everything ready. You can apply for forgiveness. You need to make sure that you've used 75% of the loan for payroll and then 25% for other expenses. So you can go ahead to the SBA website, look at more of the details of what is in the loan, but you need to make sure that if you want forgiveness of the loan, you need to make sure you apply 8 weeks after receiving the money. And then finally, I want to touch on a couple of aspects with the first round of stimulus checks. A lot of you guys are very worried and concerned because you have not yet received your first stimulus check. However, as of right now, there are no new updates on when you could expect to receive your stimulus check. I went over everything in a video yesterday, which I will link down below. I talk about SSI, SSDI, Direct Express, VA benefits. I go over all of these things and what is the most up-to-date information on when you can expect to receive your stimulus check. As of right now, though, there's nothing you can really do. Ultimately, it's that we just have to wait for the IRS to send out the stimulus money and get it to us. Because as of right now, you can't really use the Get My Payment tool. Everything is just waiting on the IRS to process information and get the stimulus money out to you. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to get your 2 free stocks valued up to $1,400 when you sign up for the Webull investing app. All you have to do is download the app. It takes 5 minutes or less. When you download the app, you deposit $100 into your account and you get 2 free stocks valued up to $1,400. Also get 1 free stock when you download Robinhood. Don't forget to check out our links down below and join our Power of Finance Investors group, as well as our Discord group community chat. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like the video down below, leave a comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.